Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we crack open massive concepts and deliver the core knowledge you need, distilled and ready to use. Today, we are immersing ourselves completely in the story of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. A timeless guide, really, not just about finding hidden gold, but navigating that profound universal question of purpose. What are you supposed to be doing with your life?
Yeah, exactly. It's often sort of put in the category of a simple fable, but we're treating it today as, well, a complex manual, a guide for recognizing your destiny,
Right.
and maybe more importantly, for identifying and overcoming those deep-seated fears that stop nearly everyone dead in their tracks. It's a story about personal responsibility, really, answering that internal call to be more than you currently are.
Absolutely. And our journey begins, as it should, with our protagonist, a young shepherd named Santiago. And the setting itself, it holds deep significance. He's sleeping in the ruins of an abandoned church in Spain.
Yeah, that image is powerful right from the start.
It is, a place where the sacristy roof has collapsed, allowing this magnificent sycamore tree to grow right up through the rubble.
Mm.
And every time he sleeps there, he has the same recurring, powerful dream.
He always wakes up before the end.
Exactly. Just before the conclusion.
And that ruined church, it's such a profound starting point, isn't it? It symbolizes a place that was once, sacred, protected, whole, but now it's exposed, open to the elements. And Santiago's current life, it kind of reflects this tension. He comes from a pretty solid academic background, actually.
Right. He studied at a seminary until he was 16.
Yeah, his parents fully expected him to become a priest. That would have been a huge source of pride for the family, for the community, stability.
Yet he chose the life of a shepherd. And why? Because, and he says this quite clearly, seeing the world and traveling was much more important to him than knowing God and learning about man's sins.
Which is quite a statement.
Yeah, it is. And this wasn't just some reckless choice. It was him acting on a desire his own father had, apparently. A desire his father had to bury under the pressures of just existing, raising a family. So Santiago chose freedom over that expected stability.
But even in that chosen life of freedom, routine starts to creep in. And the author highlights this insidious little trap.
How so?
Well, Santiago notices that either he's become accustomed to the sheep's simple schedule, just food and water, basically, or, and this is maybe more worrying for him, that they have become accustomed to his.
The lines are blurring.
Exactly. The routine is comfortable, don't get me wrong. He loves his flock. They give him income, companionship, wool. They trust him completely because he leads them to food and water. But in doing so, they've sort of forgotten how to rely on their own instincts.
And that comfort, as the book shows us again and again, is really the enemy of destiny, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And the dream is the catalyst. It shatters this comfortable equilibrium. Twice now he's had this dream. He's transported to the Egyptian pyramids, and a child tells him he'll find a hidden treasure there.
So he's placed squarely in that universal dilemma. Choose the simple, known life, the comfort of the flock, maybe seeing that merchant's daughter again,
Or take this terrifying, completely illogical leap into the unknown based on nothing more than a recurring dream.
It's a huge choice.
But the book positions his life as a shepherd not as a failure or even just comfort, but actually as preparation. Santiago is already used to calculated risks. He deals with drought. He protects against wolves.
That's true.
So deciding to investigate the dream, while it feels terrifying, it's almost just an extension of that existing shepherd's courage. He knows how to take chances.
So he makes that first, very tentative decision. He sells a few sheep, enough to get him going, and heads to the town of Tarifa to consult a gypsy woman about this dream.
And even this action shows how reluctant he is. It's not a bold stride forward yet.
No, not at all.
Yeah, his skepticism is really palpable. He remembers his childhood fear of gypsies, how people said they had pacts with the devil, things like that. He actually regrets walking into her tent almost immediately.
Yeah, it perfectly captures that initial fear, doesn't it? That feeling you get right before a major life change.
Absolutely. But he goes through with it because he has made that small commitment just to investigate.
And the gypsy woman's interpretation is, well, it's almost brutally straightforward.
No kidding. Go to the pyramids, find the treasure, that's it. No complex spiritual map, just a destination.
But there's a condition.
Yeah.
She demands payment up front, in a way. 1/10 of the future treasure.
And this is such a crucial early lesson about, let's call it the economics of destiny. Pursuing a dream always has a price.
Even if you're paying it in advance to someone you're not even sure you trust.
Exactly. It's an investment in the future possibility. By demanding a share, she forces Santiago to treat the dream not just as a fantasy, but as a tangible goal, something with real value. It validates it in a strange way.
But the truly defining moment, the point where the whole philosophical framework of the novel really snaps into focus, happens just moments later. He's sitting on a bench in the plaza, and an elderly man approaches him.
Claims to be Melchizedek, the king of Salem.
Right.
And the king's entrance is just perfect because he immediately zeroes in on Santiago's internal state. He interrupts Santiago while he's reading a book, and not just any book.
A book describing, quote, people's inability to choose their own personal legends.
Talk about an omen. It's an immediate, highly personalized sign hitting him right where he lives.
And this is where the core philosophy starts to emerge, isn't it? The king doesn't waste any time. He immediately defines what he calls the world's greatest lie.
Yeah, and that lie is the belief that at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate.
It's the lie of resignation.
Yeah.
We're just pawns of circumstance.
Exactly. And Santiago, to his credit, instinctively pushes back against this. He proudly points out, hey, I chose to be a shepherd instead of a priest. I already exercised my choice.
He has proof.
He has proof, and Melchizedek affirms this. He acknowledges that agency and then introduces the antidote to the lie, the personal legend.
Okay, so how does the king define that? What is the personal legend?
It's actually quite simple. It's what you have always wanted to accomplish, that deep desire you felt, usually when you were younger, when everything seemed clear and possible.
Before life got complicated.
Precisely. But then Melchizedek warns this mysterious force starts to creep in. It begins to convince people that achieving their personal legend is actually impossible.
And that force is what? Inertia, fear. Other people's expectations.
All of the above. It's the weight of perceived obligations, the fear of failure, the fear of success even, and just the general complexity life throws at you. It clouds that initial clarity.
But the real power of the book, I think, lies in the essential promise the king makes, the counterspell to that mysterious force. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it.
That's the core belief system right there. It's not necessarily about, divine intervention in a traditional sense. It's more about aligning your personal will, your focused desire, with the energy of the world itself, the anima mundi.
The soul of the world.
Exactly. The book basically posits that realizing your personal legend is your only real obligation on Earth, because the soul of the world is nourished by the happiness and fulfillment of all its parts. When you're truly doing what you're meant to do, you're actually contributing positively to the overall state of the universe. You're feeding it.
That's a huge concept.
Yeah.
So to help Santiago actually commit to this, Melchizedek gives him something practical, something tangible, these two stones.
Urim and Thummim. A black stone and a white stone, taken from the king's own gold breastplate.
And they're for divination.
Yeah, basically. Black for no, white for yes. They're meant to be used for objective questions, for times when reading the omens gets too confusing or overwhelming. But here's the critical twist, the philosophical nuance.
He gives him the tools, but then
he immediately undercuts the reliance on them. He advises Santiago, try to make your own decisions.
That's such a vital point.
Yeah.
He provides the crutch, but warns him not to lean on it too heavily.
Exactly. The universe gives you guides, it gives you signs, it gives you tools, yes. But the ultimate choice, the responsibility, the courage that has to remain with you, the individual. If Santiago just relies on flipping the stones.
He never learns to read the real language of the world, the omens themselves.
Precisely. He stays dependent.
So before Melchizedek vanishes, he gives Santiago one final piece of wisdom for this stage. It's that story, the parable about the boy seeking the wise man's secret of happiness.
Right. The boy gets a spoon with 2 drops of oil and is told to walk around this magnificent palace but not spill the oil.
So the first time, he just stares at the spoon, obsessed with the oil, and sees nothing of the palace marvels.
Nothing at all. Then the wise man sends him again, tells him to actually look around this time. So he does. He sees the amazing gardens, the art, the architecture, but
He spills the oil.
he spills the oil.
And the resulting lesson, the secret of happiness itself, is something I think we can all take away.
Which is?
The secret of happiness is to see all the marvels of the world and never to forget the drops of oil on the spoon.
It just brings everything back to balance, doesn't it? The marvels, that's the adventure, the pursuit, the discovery, the treasure hunt.
The personal legend.
Yes. And the drops of oil, that's Santiago's existing life. His responsibilities, his commitments, the security he already has, his flock, his duties. the girl back home he was thinking about. He has to learn how to travel the world, how to seek the marvels, without losing connection to the foundations of his life, the things that ground him.
Beautifully put. So, armed with his new philosophical map, Santiago takes the leap. He sells his entire flock of sheep this time.
All in.
All in. He mentions the principle of favorability, what we'd call beginner's luck, because he gets a great price for them. He feels like the universe is already giving him a thumbs up.
And that initial stroke of beginner's luck, it feels great. It's validating.
Yeah, see? I made the right choice.
Exactly. But it can create a false sense of security. It's like a gentle push from the universe. But the real path, as Santiago's about to find out, is rarely that smooth. He hasn't learned yet that the universe tests you, sometimes with real severity.
And the test arrives almost instantly. He steps off the boat in Tangier, Africa. A completely foreign place. He doesn't understand the language.
Overwhelmed.
Totally. And immediately he meets a young man who speaks Spanish. Seems like a miracle, right? A guide. Someone to help him navigate this strange new world, maybe even help him get to the pyramids.
It appears to be another omen, another sign of the universe conspiring to help.
But it proves to be a catastrophic mistake. Santiago trusts him, just implicitly. Shows him all his money, the entire capital he got from selling his life's work, his flock.
And the young man vanishes with every single cent, just like that. Santiago is left completely alone, penniless, weeping on the docks, feeling utterly betrayed.
He's consumed by that feeling that God was unfair, that this grand quest was crushed before it even really began. This is true rock bottom.
It really is. And it's the critical philosophical turning point where all that advice from the king, all those lofty ideas, are put to the fire.
He has to make a choice right there in that moment of absolute despair. Does he think of himself as the poor victim of a thief and just crawl back home defeated?
Or does he reaffirm his choice? Does he see himself still as an adventurer in quest of his treasure, despite this massive setback?
That distinction is everything, isn't it? Victim or adventurer.
It changes the entire narrative of his life from that point forward. That loss, that raw, painful price of following the personal legend, it teaches him something profound. He realizes he can't just rely on luck or the appearance of help.
The pain, though, is also what sparks his recovery. While he's weeping, feeling sorry for himself, he finds those stones in his pouch, Urim and Thummim.
And they fall out through a hole he hadn't even noticed was there. And that reminds him of Melchizedek's other advice. Heed the omens.
The stones falling out was the omen.
Exactly. Their physical presence reminds him that the mission, the legend, is bigger than his immediate financial disaster. And now, without the comfort of money, without even his own language to rely on, he starts learning something new.
A language without words.
Yes. This universal current of enthusiasm, purpose, and love. We see it immediately when he helps a candy seller set up his stall in the market.
Right. One speaks Spanish, the other Arabic, but they understand each other perfectly.
Because their intentions are aligned. They're communicating through shared purpose, through energy, through wanting to accomplish something together. He realizes this shared enthusiasm is the true universal dialect he needs to learn.
And this realization leads him directly to his major detour, the crystal merchant shop. He needs work, obviously, so he gets a job there. He ends up staying for 11 months.
Initially just planning to earn enough money to buy some sheep and go back home, cut his losses.
But this job becomes this incredible, unexpected masterclass in how fear stalls dreams.
It's a fascinating little contained ecosystem, that shop. Santiago, full of this new energy, immediately starts suggesting improvements. Put up an outdoor display case. Sell mint tea in those beautiful crystal glasses.
Things to attract customers. Basically, common sense business ideas.
Right. But the merchant resists every single suggestion. He cites tradition, fear of change, fear of disruption. It's always been done this way.
But Santiago is persistent. He's driven by that internal language of purpose he's just discovered. He argues we have to take advantage when luck is on our side. Make hay while the sun shines, basically.
And the innovations, when the merchant finally reluctantly agrees, they succeed wildly. Business booms, the shop transforms, and the merchant himself eventually sees the truth in his own stagnation. He has this moment of clarity.
Where he says every blessing ignored becomes a curse.
Exactly. Santiago's presence, his energy, his ideas, they were a necessary blessing that the merchant had almost blocked entirely through his own fear.
But the deeper philosophical insight here, the one that's so intensely relevant for us today, I think, is the merchant's paralysis about his own dream.
Oh, absolutely. His greatest lifelong ambition is to complete the Hajj, the pilgrimage, to Mecca. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, a sacred obligation. He's dreamed about it his whole life.
Yet he never goes.
Never goes. And when Santiago finally asks him point blank, why not, the answer is just devastatingly honest.
He's afraid.
He's afraid that if his dream is actually realized, if he gets to Mecca, he'll have no reason to go on living.
Wow.
He prefers the comfort of the hope, the perpetual longing, the joy of just dreaming about Mecca over the terrifying uncertainty of what comes after fulfillment.
That is such a profound aha moment for Santiago and for anyone reading it. He learns right there that people often prioritize the comfort of what they know, even if it's dissatisfaction or even the fear of success itself, over the actual messy, terrifying pursuit of their personal legend.
The merchant would rather keep his crystal shop, keep his familiar routine, keep his unfulfilled dreams safely tucked away, than risk the potential emptiness that might follow achieving it. It's safer to want than to have, for him.
So Santiago, he's now saved up enough money. He could buy 120 sheep, double his original flock. He's at another crossroads. He has security again. He could go back to his familiar life, richer, wiser maybe.
But the ghost of the crystal merchant, that image of stagnation, haunts him. It reminds him exactly what happens when you choose comfort over destiny, year after year.
And so he chooses to press on. He uses the money not for sheep, but to join a caravan headed out into the vast emptiness of the Sahara Desert, towards Egypt.
And this leg of the journey, it really shifts the focus. It moves away from external success like the shop, back towards internal spiritual understanding. He's heading into the desert, towards the Al-Fayoum oasis.
This is where he learns to really live fully in the present moment. He connects deeply with one of the camel drivers.
Yeah, the camel driver teaches him this crucial survival lesson, both for the desert and for life. The importance of concentrating only on the moment you're in.
I guess the past is just regret. The future is just anxiety.
Exactly. He says, life is the moment we're living right now. If you pay attention to the present, you can actually be happy. You can see life as this grand festival happening right now, not something you're waiting for.
He also meets the Englishman on this caravan. And the Englishman serves as this brilliant counterpoint to Santiago's developing intuitive wisdom.
Oh, totally. The Englishman is obsessed with finding a real alchemist. He's lugging these huge suitcases filled with incredibly complex coded books about alchemy, mercury, salt, the philosopher's stone, the elixir of life.
He represents the intellectual trap, doesn't he? The belief that truth is only found through dense academic study, through complex formulas.
Precisely. And Santiago, who's been learning this wordless language of the world, finds himself kind of critiquing this complexity. He starts thinking, the fundamental truth of alchemy, the path to the soul of the world, it's supposed to be simple enough to be written on a single emerald tablet, just a few lines.
While the Englishman is lost in volumes of theory.
Yeah, his reliance on books has ironically blinded him to the actual omens happening all around him in the desert every single day. He's searching for a secret that's hiding in plain sight, written in the language of the natural world, not just in ancient texts.
So the journey eventually brings them to this huge, peaceful haven in the middle of the desert, the Al-Fayoum oasis. And there, at the well...
The classic meeting place.
The classic meeting place.
Yeah.
Santiago meets Fatima, and it's instant, profound, love at first sight, truly.
He says when their eyes meet, he understands the most important part of the language that all the world spoke. It was love. He just knows she's his soulmate.
And this presents the ultimate test. Maybe even harder than being robbed or the temptation to just stay comfortably at the crystal shop. He's found absolute personal happiness.
Yeah, he's immediately tempted to just abandon the hunt for the treasure. Why keep going? He could stay here in this protected oasis with Fatima forever. He thinks surely true love means settling down.
And this is exactly when the mysterious, powerful figure, the black-clad horseman, the alchemist himself, appears to intervene.
Perfect timing. He challenges Santiago's desire to stay put. He resolves that internal conflict with a prophecy that is just devastatingly clear.
What does he tell him?
The alchemist's warning is brutal, but it's necessary. He says, basically, if you stay here, Santiago, sure, you'll be happy for a year, maybe even 2. You'll be a respected counselor at the oasis. You'll marry Fatima. You'll have wealth. But eventually, the omens will stop speaking to you because you've stopped listening. You chose comfort over your legend, and that love, that initial joy, it will slowly turn to bitterness. You'll regret it. You'll end up just like
the crystal merchant. Another successful man haunted by an unfulfilled dream.
Exactly. And then the alchemist delivers the decisive lesson. cutting right to the heart of how love should function in a life dedicated to purpose.
Which is?
Love never keeps a man from pursuing his personal legend. If he abandons that pursuit, it's because it wasn't true love, the love that speaks the language of the world.
Wow. So true love supports the legend, it doesn't replace it.
That's the core idea here. True love in this context isn't about possession or even just proximity. It's about mutual support for growth and freedom. And Fatima, embodying the wisdom of the desert, she confirms this immediately.
She aligns herself with this quest, doesn't she?
Completely. She says, I'm a desert woman and I'm proud of that. I want my husband to wander as free as the wind. She understands. She promises to wait, sending her kisses on the wind, knowing that if he's truly part of her dream, her destiny, he will return.
Incredible. So Santiago chooses destiny again. He leaves the safety of the oasis with the alchemist. And now they enter the most dangerous phase of the journey, crossing active warring territories in the desert. The threat is no longer just potential, it's immediate and external.
But also internal. As they face real mortal danger, Santiago's heart starts speaking to him constantly, and it's consumed by fear.
What does it say?
It reminds him of his comfortable life back in Spain, the sheep, the safety. It tells him stories of all the people who set out on quests and failed, who died in the desert. It basically screams at him, turn back, it's not worth it. Santiago initially just dismisses his heart as a traitor.
Understandable. He feels like it's sabotaging him.
Right. But the alchemist reframes this fear. He says the fear itself is valuable communication. You have to listen to it, acknowledge it, but not obey it blindly. He instructs Santiago to tell his heart this profound realization.
The fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself.
And that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity.
That's a powerful reframing.
It is. The heart isn't a traitor. It's part of the soul of the world. Its fear is just a reflection of humanity's tendency not to listen to it deeply enough. Once Santiago understands this, once he truly listens to his heart, not to follow its fear, but to acknowledge its message, it actually becomes his greatest ally.
How so?
It starts providing real strength. It alerts him to unseen dangers, like noticing approaching armies before they're visible. It becomes his intuition, sharpened by acknowledging the fear instead of suppressing it.
And this whole process, listening to his heart, leads directly to the ultimate test of faith and courage in the book. They get captured.
Yeah, by warring tribesmen. They think Santiago and the alchemists are spies. The situation looks hopeless. The chief in the camp gives Santiago an impossible ultimatum.
He has 3 days.
3 days to prove his power, to back up the alchemist's claims about him by transforming himself into the wind if he can't do it.
Execution for both of them.
The stakes absolutely could not be higher, and this is really the philosophical peak of the entire novel. Santiago is forced to shed everything his identity as a shepherd, as a lover, even just as a man with limitations. He has to merge with the universe itself.
So how does he even begin to do that?
He starts by communicating. He speaks to the desert, then to the wind, then to the sun. He appeals to their shared essence, realizing this fundamental unity. We were all made by the same hand, and we have the same soul.
He's accessing the soul of the world directly.
Exactly. He argues with the wind and then the sun, stating that everything, copper, lead, people, stars, everything has its own personal legend. And the purpose of that legend is transformation.
Each thing has to transform itself into something better.
That's the core driver. He's tapping into the shared purpose of all existence, which is this constant striving for improvement, for refinement.
And this leads him to the ultimate philosophical realization in the book, defining the force that drives everything.
Love is the force that transforms and improves the soul of the world.
So it's not just romantic love, but this fundamental cosmic force.
Yes. It's the energy that connects everything and pushes it toward becoming better. He realizes that when we strive to become better individually, everything around us becomes better too. It's interconnected. And by reaching through the soul of the world, connecting with the desert, the wind, the sun, and finally, the hand that wrote all.
He does it. He transforms.
He does. He momentarily dissolves into the swirling sand and wind and reappears on the other side of the camp. He proves his connection to a power far beyond a tribesman's comprehension.
They must have been stunned.
Utterly stunned. They let him and the alchemist go immediately, of course, filled with awe and maybe a little fear.
So after that climax, the alchemist performs one final act of tutelage. He demonstrates literal alchemy.
Yeah, inside a Coptic monastery kitchen, of all places, he casually turns a piece of lead into gold using a sliver of the philosopher's stone. Simple as that.
just to show Santiago it's real.
Exactly. And then he insists on giving Santiago a large portion of that newly made gold. Divides it into 4 parts, actually. One for the monk, one for himself, one for Santiago.
And the fourth part.
He gives it back to the monk to hold for Santiago, just in case. He says it's a precaution, and he cites this old superstitious proverb.
Everything that happens once can never happen again.
But everything that happens twice will surely happen a third time. He's anticipating that Santiago, having been robbed once, might face hardship again. He's preparing him for the potential of future setbacks, giving him a safety net.
That's incredibly insightful. He also shares one last story, doesn't he? The centurion's story.
Yes, about the Roman soldier whose simple words of faith to Jesus were remembered for centuries. It serves to remind Santiago that everyone, even a seemingly insignificant shepherd or an unnamed soldier, plays a central, often completely unrecognized role in the vast, interconnected history of the world. No part is too small.
And finally, after all the detours, the dangers, the transformations, Santiago reaches the foot of the Egyptian pyramids.
The goal he set out for so long ago. He falls to his knees, just overcome, and weeps with joy and relief. And his heart, now his truest ally, whispers to him,
Be aware of the place where you're brought to tears. That's where I am, and that's where your treasure is.
the sign he needed. So filled with absolute certainty this time, he begins to dig all night long, right there where his tears fell on the sand.
He must be feeling ecstatic, finally at the end of the quest.
You'd think so. But here comes the final, profound, and absolutely excruciating irony of the entire journey.
He finds nothing.
Nothing but sand. And worse, just as he realizes this, he's confronted, brutally beaten, and robbed yet again by refugees fleeing the tribal wars. It's almost a mirror of Tangier.
Unbelievable. Just when he thought he'd made it.
But then, the leader of these refugees, after taking the gold the alchemist had given him, notices Santiago digging. He mocks him, calls him stupid, and then reveals something stunning.
What?
The leader says that he used to have the exact same recurring dream about treasure buried near pyramids. But in his dream, the treasure wasn't at the pyramids in Egypt.
No. Where was it?
It was buried back in Spain, at a ruined church underneath a sycamore tree growing up through the collapsed sacristy roof.
Oh my God. The exact spot where Santiago started.
Exactly. The final brutal lesson is delivered. Santiago had to travel an entire continent, risk death multiple times, endure betrayal, lose everything he had twice, only to learn that the physical treasure was literally right where he began, under his feet, back home.
It's almost cruel.
It feels that way, but it's the moment where the physical treasure becomes almost irrelevant compared to the real treasure he gained.
Which was the journey itself.
Exactly. The knowledge, the experiences, the transformation, the connection to the soul of the world, the understanding of love, the mastery over fear. He now knows where the treasure is, and he has the maturity, the wisdom, and the courage to actually claim what was always his, in a way.
So battered, bruised, robbed again, but now strangely elated, right? Because he has certainty.
Yes. He possesses the knowledge, so he uses that fourth piece of gold the alchemist wisely left for him with the monk, and he travels all the way back to Spain.
He reaches that small, abandoned church again, just as night is falling. The scene is identical to the very beginning of the book.
It's a perfect circle, and he reflects on the immense journey. He realizes the path was written in the omens all along. He couldn't really have gone wrong, even with the setbacks. He fully acknowledges the indispensable role of every single person and every single event.
The gypsy demanding her tenth.
The king giving him the legend.
The thief in Tangier forcing him to adapt.
The crystal merchant teaching him about fear and persistence.
The Englishman showing him the limits of intellect. Fatima teaching him about love.
And the alchemist guiding him through the final trials. Without the theft, he wouldn't have met the merchant. Without the merchant, he wouldn't have earned the money or learned persistence. Without persistence, he wouldn't have joined the caravan or found the alchemist. It was all necessary.
The entire sprawling, dangerous journey was like this complex delivery system, designed specifically to give him the knowledge, the experience, and the courage he needed just to know where to dig in his own backyard.
Beautifully put. So he digs under the sycamore tree in the ruined church, and this time,
He finds it. A chest filled with old Spanish gold coins, precious stones, gold masks, jewels. The physical treasure is real.
it's real, but it feels almost secondary now, doesn't it?
It does. Because the true reward, the real culmination of his transformation, arrives right at that moment. As he sits there with the treasure, the Levanter wind starts to blow.
The wind that comes from Africa.
Yes. and it carries the scent of Fatima's perfume. And he feels, maybe for the first time truly, the touch of a kiss carried on that wind. He's connected his personal fulfillment, the finding of the treasure, directly back to his true love and the soul of the world.
He had the treasure geographically all along, but he lacked the internal development, the maturity, the worthiness maybe to access it. He had to travel across the desert physically, spiritually, mentally to gain the wisdom and certainty required to even recognize and appreciate what he already possessed.
The gold was just the external proof, the confirmation of his internal achievement.
Absolutely. The real treasure was his mastery of the language of the world, his connection to the soul of the world, his unwavering bond with Fatima based on freedom, and the unshakable certainty in his own identity and purpose. He achieved his personal legend, and in doing so, he enriched the soul of the world, just as Melchizedek said he would.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive into destiny and the alchemist, maybe we can synthesize Santiago's incredible journey into, say, 3 core actionable takeaways for you, the listener, listening right now.
Okay, yeah. First, I think, is about courage and decisions. The crystal merchant is the ultimate cautionary tale, isn't he?
He really is.
That desire to maintain the comfort of an unrealized dream is such a paralyzing force for so many people. If you continually postpone your major life goals out of fear of failure, fear of change, even fear of success, you will inevitably look back with crushing regret. You have to decide, are you going to take the risk, or are you going to accept that every blessing ignored becomes a curse?
Powerful first point. What's second?
Second, I'd say, is paying closer attention to omens and intuition. The universe, as the book suggests, doesn't communicate through complex spreadsheets or dense academic texts. It uses the language of simplicity.
Right.
The omens are often simple things. A butterfly behaving strangely, a recurring phrase you hear, a chance encounter that feels significant, a sudden gut feeling or inspiration. Santiago's success really kicked in when he stopped trying to rely on complex formulas like the Englishman's books and started really paying attention to the subtle flow of the world around him, trusting that intuitive language.
Learn to read the signs.
Okay.
And the third takeaway.
Finally, it has to be about persistence over fear. Santiago had to learn the hard way that failure and disappointment are not signals to quit. They are simply stages of the process. The alchemist taught him that crucial lesson. The darkest hour of the night came just before the dawn.
The universe tests you most severely right before the breakthrough.
Exactly. It weeds out those who aren't fully committed. So remember to tell your heart, when it's screaming in fear, that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. Because every single second you spend in search of your dream is actually an encounter with eternity, with something much bigger than your fear.
Courage, intuition, persistence. Great takeaways. So we'll leave you with this final provocative thought, drawing directly from Santiago's own reflection near the end of his journey. He realized that even his beloved sheep, the comfort he felt thinking about the merchant's daughter, the familiar fields of Andalusia, these things he almost clung to were not destinations in themselves, but only steps along the way to his personal legend.
Necessary steps.
Absolutely necessary steps. So the question for you is, what seemingly mundane or maybe frustratingly necessary or perhaps even challenging part of your current life, what thing you see as an obstacle is actually a crucial, indispensable step towards your greatest dream? Maybe start seeing it as just a hurdle you have to overcome and start seeing it as part of the journey itself. The path is the destination in a way.